Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with here today with an article from May 13th, from Townhall.com. It says UN quietly changes Gaza casualty numbers by a lot. And I've done a couple of videos on this similar subject before about, Hamas's numbers just not being mathematically possible, the death numbers that they're reporting, as well as I think I did an article maybe from the time you're hearing this, it would have been a week or two ago. Hiccups. About the same sort of thing about them now revising their numbers down, like it says here, by a lot. So let's just go into it again because this one was a little different than the one I did before. Man, I'm sorry, got hiccups again. Let's just plow through this. As Townhall reported, and anyone not blinded by rabid anti-Israel and pro-Hamas hatred presumed, the number of women and children killed in the Gaza Strip since Hamas launched its massacre on October 7th is far less than the United Nations or its terrorist sources reported. Yeah, and I think that was the big reason that I'm doing this, and I know I did a few weeks ago, like I said, another video about a similar, or basically the same thing, but I'm doing this one because it's the UN now doing it instead of just Hamas coming out and be like, oh yeah, we made a little bit of a boo-boo. This is now the UN going, oh yeah, we helped make that boo-boo. We helped perpetuate it. So it says the UN's Office of Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs, it's OCHA, quite quietly and without an announcement, matching the breathless outrage at and coverage of previously reported and literally unbelievable numbers, halved the number of women and children it previously claimed were killed in Gaza amid the war. The more than 14,000 children it said had been killed was quietly changed to fewer than 7,800, and the number of women killed was switched from 9,500 to fewer than 5,000. Yeah, I'd say those are big changes, wouldn't you? It says the substantial reduction, first noted by the Jerusalem Post, debunks those who use the UN OCHA, or read Hamas terrorist statistics, to falsely smear Israel as a genocidal regime in their advocacy for Hamas to survive the war started by the bloodthirsty Iran-backed terrorists. And then Matt Whitlock here, good follow on Twitter, I do follow him, basically says the same thing, and then this is the perfect line here. It says, crazy that you can't count on terrorists for good data. And that's who the UN was going with, because the UN should be, basically we should do to the UN what the Romans did to Carthage at the end of the Third Punic War. If you do not know that, by all means, go look it up. Sorry about that, I'm not cutting that cough out. It says, for observers following the conflict, it should have been evident since the war began that data published by Hamas and its affiliates requires rigorous scrutiny, reminded Joe Truzman, senior research analyst at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, or FDD, Long War Journal. That's a hell of a title. It says, while the UN's belated decision to rectify the casualty figures is welcome, it may come too late to undo the harm already caused, he cautioned, and I think it has. I don't think any of these idiot college kids protesting or something would be like, you mean they were lying to us the whole time? Well, guys, pack it up. Let's go home. Nothing else to do here. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. It says the delay has bolstered Hamas's position and increased its chances of survival in the conflict. It also means that the efforts of Israel and IDF forces to limit civilian casualties have been even more successful than previously known. The IDF's prosecution of the war in the wake of Hamas' terrorist surprise attack has already been seen by honest observers as a masterclass in urban warfare in challenging conditions. Now it's also clear that the combatant-to-civilian ratio is better than most recent wars fought by any nation. And that's one of the things that I reported too, is that I think their civilian-to-soldier ratio of a dead was... Oh, yeah, it says right over here. Yeah, something like, I was going to say 1.13 or 1.3, something like that is what I saw. But this is, yeah, that's even better. So it says, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently said his government estimates the Gaza death toll to be around 14,000 terrorists and 16,000 civilians, all the blood of which is on Hamas's hands, which would mean a ratio of 1 to 1.14, better than what other militaries, including the U.S., have managed. Especially so since Hamas purposely hides its terrorists and weapons inside or under civilian targets. In a sane world, an explanation will be demanded from the UN as to why it accepted casualty numbers from Hamas terrorists under the guise of the Government Media Office, or GMO, in Gaza. Yes, that's a very good question that any reporter that's worth their weight in salt would go ahead and ask the UN, but they're all partisans. They're just not going to do that. So it says, since it's long been known that Hamas counts combatants as civilian deaths, that's a hugely important point, especially for you leftists out there. They combatants as civilian deaths and grossly inflates the real numbers. Again, important lesson right here that I just highlighted for all you leftists. It says, in 2024, however, with the UN voting to grant Palestine, in scare quotes, as it should be because it's not an actual place, membership is a state in violation of the UN's charter, and after UNRWA employees participated in the October 7th massacre alongside the terrorists, there's not likely to be any meaningful accountability. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. As according to a UN spokesperson, the sudden and consequential change in the reported number of casualties, reminder, all of which are the result of Hamas and its decision to attack on October 7th, is the result of being in the fog of war. Yeah, they said that. It's like, you guys aren't in a freaking war. You're just there reporting on things. Like, they're in your building that's not around here. Where it's difficult to come up with numbers. We get numbers from different sources on the ground, and then we try to cross-check them. The feeble explanation continued. Yeah, I heard the guy's explanation, and it was just not good. It was basically him, in a way, saying, yeah, well, we know we screwed up. I'm going to make up some excuse to explain why we screwed up, and it's just going to... You guys are just going to have to kind of deal with it, and I know you're not going to ask any follow-up on that, so it's just going to be what it is. There's David Adesnik, a senior fellow and the director of research at FTD, said the significant casualty revisions may signal that the UN has finally recognized the lack of evidence behind Hamas's original claims that more than 14,000 children and 9,000 women have been killed in Gaza. If so, the UN should state clearly that it has lost confidence in sources whose credibility it has affirmed for months. Yeah, and not just that it has lost confidence, but why it's lost confidence in them. It says, while this change may only reflect the conclusion of one UN office out of the many operating in Gaza, it is a clear step forward. And that's the end of the article. Yep, I agree. But again, something needs to be asked about, like, why did you guys just blindly believe a terrorist organization that's known for lying about basically everything? So, yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm trying to think of, it's like if Satan came to you and told you, like, you know, the moon is made of barbecue spare ribs, and you're just like, yep, that makes total sense to me. Like, you're not going to question that? Like, what? Anyway, I know it's another video about the same thing, but again, it's something that does bear repeating ad nauseum, I think. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I'd like to hear from you. Like, share, subscribe. Talk to you soon.